The Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show is sponsored by Accunet Mortgage, an equal housing lender, NMLS ID 255368, and Accunet Realty Advisors, which is a separate company from but still affiliated with Accunet Mortgage.
Putting a roof over your head without the headache. Get answers to all of your home buying questions. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And our Sunday best to you. Good morning and welcome to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show. I'm Steve Kettler along with Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors. Owner and president Brian Wickert, and right there, licensed millennial loan consultant David Wickert. As always, if you have a question or a comment, you can call us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620. So we've got some interesting conversation concerning words matter today.
Well, you know, David and I are both words guys. Didn't you used to have like some sort of a Twitter handle or something? Like you were Word Smythe or...
Oh, I have no...
Back in the day, in college or something like that?
Back to the show.
Okay, anyway, words matter, and we have a very important special warning for condo buyers that we're going to start off the show with right away. And then throughout the rest of the show, we have other words matter issues coming up, and also a new word of the day, appurtenances. You can Google that one, appurtenances. I had to practice that. I had to have it. I had to play the little sound thing on dictionary.com. Okay, so let's start with condos. We got to talk about condos. This is something I didn't realize until I just read a alert or kind of a Q&A from the Wisconsin Realtors Association legal hotline, which, remember, I am a licensed real estate broker and a card-carrying member of the association. So first of all, let's start out, Steve. Who do you think are the primary buyers of condos? What demographic?
I'm going to guess it's a 50-plus crowd.
Yep. We've got the empty nester crowd, and then David, who are you?
My category is people who hate yard work. And that's 20-somethings and 60-somethings and everybody in between.
So we do get a lot of first-time home buyers who are like, you know what, we're going to get started. We're going to buy the condo, you know, because we just got married or whatever. And then, you know, in 5 or 6 years, when we start having a family, then we're going to move out to the burbs. So you got the newbies and the oldies, both ends of the spectrum. By the way, I should mention the condo market in Milwaukee is rather robust. This year. I did a little quick research in the 5-county metro area. Year to date, condo sales are up 11%, whilst listings year to date are down 5%. So that's a 16% gap, right? A kind of a spread between those two. And that means that if you look at August condo sales, we only have a 3-month supply.
That's not enough.
Tilted heavily in favor of sellers right now. And just as another little nugget to carry around in your brain, it's about... For every condo that sells, there are 5 single-family homes that sell. It's about a 5-to-1 ratio.
Wow.
If you want to keep that in mind. Okay, so here was the question that got posed to the legal hotline. The scenario was that a buyer writes an offer to purchase, pay close attention now, on a condo, and the accepted offer date is September 1st. The closing's to occur 45 days later on October 15th. By the way, thank you for writing a 45-day contingency and not a 30. 30's too quick. Okay, so now on September 15th, 2 weeks after the accepted offer date, a full month yet before closing, the seller receives a letter from the Homeowners Association informing her of a association meeting to take place on the 30th of September to vote on a special assessment of $15,000 per condo unit owner in order to pay for new roofs in the complex. All right, question 1. Steve, does the seller have to tell the buyer about this?
They should.
Yep. David, you agree?
Well, wait, there's a difference between they should because they're nice and they're from Wisconsin, or do they have to?
I was going to say technically.
They have to because it's a potential material adverse effect, right? Okay, question 2. We'll go with Steve first. Who is responsible for paying the special assessment if the vote passes, the seller or the buyer?
Oh, boy.
Just say what's in your heart.
The buyer in effect later.
What did you say? I missed
the buyer?
The buyer? Wow, well, everyone else thought the seller.
I thought it was the seller, Steve.
Yeah, but surprises most people.
Because the
except
seller,
for you. Okay. But because what? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, the reason why when we talked about this that I thought it was going to be the seller is because they own the property still. It's under contract, yes, but it's not the buyer's
All right,
place
so here's
yet.
the kicker. Lines 444 of your WB14 residential condominium offer to purchase specifically state that special assessments, if any, including those made by applicable homeowners or condo association levied prior to the date of this offer, shall be paid by the seller.
No.
All other special assessments shall be paid by the buyer. So it said if the assessment was levied before the offer date,
And in this example, it was September 1st.
was the offer date, and they didn't get notice until the meeting, till after.
Yeah.
The meeting isn't going to be till the 30th. Let's say they pass it. Yeah, the buyer's going to get stuck with that $15,000 special assessment.
Wow.
Wow. What an unpleasant surprise. All right, when we come back from this break, we're going to talk about what could the buyer have done to protect themselves from this very bad happening. We'll cover that when we get back.
And if you have a question for Brian or David, you can reach us at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620.
Helping you find a place to call home. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
A new season for the Bucks tips off tomorrow night with their preseason opener in Chicago. Will this be a bounce-back year, or is a big injury going to hamper this team's chances? Justin Garcia previews the upcoming season coming up at 1:07 today during Wisconsin's Sports Weekend. We are in the midst of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Hour with Brian Wickert and David Wickert talking about condos. And if you're going to make a purchase there, there's some things you might want to be thinking about and looking into and considering.
Right. The kind of shocking revelation that came to my attention here since our last show was that if a seller gets a special assessment notice let's just say this, after the accepted offer date, it could very well turn out that the poor buyer has to pay for that big special assessment.
Saying which date is more important?
The accepted offer date.
Yes.
Okay. And so the scenario came into the Realtor Association hotline, for a legal hotline, about a seller who got this notice 2 weeks after, right? That, hey, there's going to be a meeting in another 2 weeks before closing. And the subject of the meeting here at the association is we think everybody's got to chip in $15,000 right away, called a special assessment, to fix all the roofs on this here 25-year-old condo building, let's say. And, all right, so we've established, they should tell the buyer about this. Yep, we got the special assessment letter. That could be a problem. And now we're talking about what could they have done to sniff this issue out. And the answer, the recipe, is right in the WB14 condominium offer to purchase. It's right there on line 235. It says, condominium buyers would be wise to request financial statements and minutes. Unit buyers may want to request additional information about the association's financial statements for the last 2 years, the minutes of the last 3 unit owner meetings, and the minutes of the condominium board during the 12 months prior to acceptance. David, why might they want to have those minutes?
Because they're going to arrive at that special assessment in previous meetings.
Yeah, maybe they're
previous
talking about it.
conversations.
Yeah, gosh, Phil, we need to get a bid on the roof thing. Do you think we should get 2 bids or 3? Golly, how much do you think that would cost? Do we have enough money in the reserve fund?
How much money do you think we're going to have to levy against everybody?
Yep. So you'll find out about that stuff in a minute. It's the offer to purchase. Again, it's right there in black and white. If people would only read the words in their offers, both sellers and buyers.
Yes.
You got to get an insight into the financial health and what's coming up in terms of big financial issues, mainly repairs, for the condo association.
We had one of our loan consultants this week help someone do a pre-approval for a condo purchase in Chicago. And they asked that exact question, which was, what homework should I do if I'm looking at buying the specific condo? And while most folks think that condos will be less work over the life of the property, that might be true, but you better be willing to do the homework, the digging, the investigative work to start to make sure you're buying into a project that is healthy. Because if it's not healthy, that can turn out ugly.
That can be right. And so you asked a question while we were on the break, coming up. So how, let's say that the buyer is in this unfortunate position where, surprise, you're on the hook for this special assessment. What are they going to do? And the only thing I could come up with is, well, we as a lender, if this information got to us, which it likely would,
right,
we would have to verify that they had the funds for the down payment, the closing cost, and the special assessment.
Oh.
And if they didn't have enough money, we could deny the loan. But if a person did have the money, I think they'd be in a world of hurt.
They don't have a poison pill.
So the other thing that you could do to protect yourself is change the language, right? If I'm a buyer. So I'm curious if there are any active condo real estate agents listening to the show today. My two questions are, do you amend this language when you're helping a buyer and you're representing them as their buyer's agent? Do you amend the language to better protect the buyer so that it's not based on the offer date, but rather the closing date or something later in the process?
Yes.
And then secondly, if you're taking a listing for a condo, Mr. and Mrs. or Ms. Listing agent out there, are you doing any due diligence on the association yourself?
To make sure that the buyers could actually buy the place?
Well, or that the seller, that you're disclosing any material adverse facts, or is this more of a don't ask, don't tell kind of a proposition? All right, well, if anybody calls in, we'll take your calls on that. When we come back, we've got one other quick segment on condos, which is what kind of diligence do we do on condominiums? We'll give you that answer as lenders when we come back.
And our number to call is 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line. That number is 1-800-877-1620.
Getting you through the home buying process. Welcome back to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And 620 WTMJ's Healthcare Radio Seminar is back. The guys from Benneco of Wisconsin have the latest on ACA compliance to help employers navigate strategies to reduce healthcare costs. Later today, they'll look at what employers need to do in 2017. It's 620's WTMJ's Healthcare Radio Seminar this afternoon at 12:07, sponsored by Benneco of Wisconsin. So we're talking about condos and things that you want to look into, whether you're buying or selling, especially the devil's in the details, so to speak.
Yes, it is. And so, the first kind of level of review, if you're looking at a condo, is say, what basket am I going to fall in relative to mortgage lending scrutiny, is this. If all the units in the project or the phase are not, quote, substantially complete, you're not going to be able to get a 30-year fixed rate loan. So substantially complete means all the units in this project have to have drywall, windows, roof, and all that's left is just
and
like
an
the
occupancy
finishes.
permit too.
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can have the finishes that are still up in the air. Okay. So if you don't meet that criteria, you know what? They're still got 6 more, buildings to build or units to build over here. You're not going to get a 30-year fixed rate loan.
And it's because the health of the project is unknown at the moment because the project's not done.
All right. So, David, then let's move on and say, okay, so you meet that. It's an established condominium. All the units are built. They've all been sold, or most of them.
Yep.
Now what do we do?
Well, so then we submit the particulars of your mortgage through the automated software, the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac automated underwriter, and it comes back to us and it says, okay, you either need a full condo review or a limited condo review. So on the full condo review, what they're trying to measure is project eligibility risk, which is to say, hey, what's the financial stability, the viability of your condo project? We'd like to see some documentation, please, to prove that your homeowners association is in good health.
What percentage of down payment automatically gets you into the full condo review bucket?
I would say that depends. That's a lawyerly answer, but the general is less than 10%.
Right. If you have less than 10% down, Steve, and everybody listening, you're going to get yourself a full condo review.
Yes.
If you're applying for a 30-year fixed rate loan anywhere on the planet. And then what should people always remember and never forget if their deal is subject to a full condo review?
That you need more time.
More time. That's right. Because it's more
those 30-day turnaround times are a little too tight.
That's right.
Well, and it's because the things that we have to get completed are a questionnaire by the association how many units are there? How many of them are second homes? How many of them are rentals? Does anybody own more than one unit? Are there any special assessments coming down the pipe? Litigation. And then also we have to document things like the budget. You had that example a couple weeks back of you are required to set aside 10%.
The association.
The association is required to set aside 10% of the annual fees that they collect from homeowners for the rainy day.
A cushion just for
Yes.
that year's operating budget. So
Yep.
if the association has a $200,000 operating budget,
Yep.
they have to have a line item in there for $20,000 that says fudge factor.
Yes.
This is in addition
In
to
case
the
it
money.
snows more and we had to pay the plow guys
Exactly.
more.
This is in addition to money that they're hopefully setting aside to replace the roofs one day or do the basement work.
Yes.
All right.
So we have to check that the budget is healthy. Got to collect things like the bylaws and the articles of incorporation and the rules and regulations to make sure that there's nothing odd about how the association is
like
organized.
if they were to have in there, we don't allow any Norwegians to buy.
Yes.
We couldn't.
That anti-Norwegian clause. Yes.
Right. That would violate the Fair Housing Act and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act,
Absolutely.
and we couldn't lend on it, right?
And then the last piece of the puzzle that is a mystery sometimes is the insurance.
Okay.
And
That's true of any condo project.
Oh, yeah.
We have to verify that the association has adequate insurance, and we are butting our heads with insurance agents all the time.
Yes.
All right, so the bottom line is if you're going to be out there and you think you want to buy a condo, that's cool. Do your homework. Get the association minutes, get the meeting minutes, get the budget yourself, because if you're putting 10% down or more, we're not doing it. You're on your own. And it would really pay. You don't want to get one of those very unhappy surprises. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about some more words. And the word of the day after we get back is appurtenances. Appurtenances. All right, that's it. When we come back.
The Brewers close out the 2016 season today against the Colorado Rockies.
Get up! Get up! Get out of here and gone for Chris Carter!
Mr. Baseball Bob Wickert has the call today starting at 1:35. The sound of summer. Brewers Baseball. 620 WTMJ.
Is your mattress over 8 years old? Then now is the perfect time to replace it during Mattress Firm's Replace Every 8 sale. Jane Matnair here. Hey, just because you can keep your mattress forever, it doesn't mean you should. Think about it. Over time, your body changes, and so does your mattress. After 8 years, your mattress loses most of its support, comfort, and cushioning. So check your mattress tag. You know where it is. If it's over 8 years old, it's time to replace it at Mattress Firm today. For a limited time, get store-wide savings of up to $500 on the best brands like Sealy, Serta, Beautyrest, and more. Because Mattress Firm is America's #1 Tempur-Pedic retailer, Tempur-Pedic created the Tempur-Pedic Supreme HD Collection exclusively for Mattress Firm. The Tempur-Pedic Supreme HD Collection has more adaptive support and more highly conforming HD material, plus the easy refresh top cover and cool to the touch smart climate system. If your mattress is over 8 years old, get rid of it during the Replace Every 8 sale at Mattress Firm. Mattress Firm, save money, sleep happy.
As a father, I was afraid to smile in family photos.
As a restaurant owner, dentures made talking to guests painful.
I used to be self-conscious about my teeth, but Eon Clinic's dental implants made the stress go away.
If you're suffering from the pain of tooth decay or the embarrassment of missing teeth, Eon Clinic's dental implant team is here to help. Find your smile again at eonclinics.com. That's eonclinics.com. Or call 844-EON-CLNC. That's 844-366-2562.
There are few household chores more nasty than cleaning out your gutters. Plus, clogged gutters can cause damage to your home's foundation. It's time to check out LeafGuard, the seamless gutter system that's guaranteed to remain clog-free. Let the team at LeafGuard of Southeast Wisconsin come out and show you the benefits of the best gutter system on the market and give you a free estimate. Plus, right now, they'll take 75% off installation labor. Call LeafGuard now, 262-682-0500.
Expert advice on buying a home. Here's more of the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
And let's not forget licensed millennial loan consultant David Wickert as well. So, Brian, you brought up a $500 word that's called, what is it, appurtenance?
Appurtenances. I swear, I have to concentrate every time I say it. Appurtenances. And we're going to have also chattel and real estate. Those are the related terms. Well, in case you didn't Google it like I did this morning, appurtenances are anything attached to a piece of land or building such that it becomes a part of the property and is passed on to a new owner when the property is sold. It may be something tangible, like a garage, septic system, water tank, or something abstract, like an easement or a right-of-way. Or we had one that closed this.
The intangible thing was, but
the right to do something like a driveway agreement.
Okay.
We had one of those one time. Okay, so common examples of things that, even though they're chattel, David, you just looked up the definition of chattel.
Chattel is the personal possession, an item of property other than real estate.
Okay, so personal possession. So interestingly, here is my list of things that are okay to include in the offer.
Have lost Brian and David on their connection in here this morning, so we'll give them a moment to rejoin us. And also invite you at 414-799-1620 or throughout the Midwest on the Accunet Mortgage toll-free talk line to join us at 1-800-877-1620 if you have a question. And we're still looking for maybe someone that has experience in the condo buying and selling arena when it comes to looking into the minutes of a condo sale and what's been discussed at recent board meetings. So if you have something to share in that department, we'd love to entertain that call as well. But Brian and David back with us here as we're talking about chattel and the definition of chattel.
Chattel and appurtenances, the things that are okay to include in the offer to purchase, even though they are chattel, are washer and dryer, refrigerator, stove, microwave. Then things that would actually be appurtenances, and typically, things that are attached to the property would be water softeners, the iron curtain if you have irony water, built-in sound system or a theater system, and of course, window treatments. All those things are typically included as things that you can put in the offer to purchase and not get in trouble for with your mortgage lender. Now, we see all the time things that shouldn't be in offers to purchase because they're chattel. And David just had an example here this past month where the person had in the offer to purchase potted plants and, the picture above the fireplace. We had a bench, desks, and utility rooms. Furniture is always a no-no to put into an offer to purchase. 50-inch TV in the rec room, rug on the porch, high top table. That's all fine if you're paying cash. But mortgage lenders don't want that in the contract because it's not real estate. And we're in the business of financing real estate. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah. So the bottom line is it's really easy to fix. If you want to have all that stuff as part of your deal, and it's just kind of hard to believe that real estate agents haven't caught on here in 2016 because this is not a new rule. You just put all that chattel stuff onto a bill of sale. And then you simply write in the offer to purchase that this offer to purchase is contingent upon the seller simultaneously accepting the attached bill of sale. And that's where you put all that stuff that's not real estate, the couch, the stove, the lawnmower. That's another good example of things we sometimes see try to sneak into the offer to purchase. Just put all that stuff on a bill of sale, and you'll make everybody's life easier. When we come back, we're going to talk about just how low rates are. I'm out there advertising right now a 2.99 rate on a 30-year fixed, Steve. That's got a 3.17 annual percentage rate. We'll tell you what you have to do to get that rate when we come back.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Home buying advice from the guys who know it best. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Well, the U.S. Senate race is heating up in Wisconsin. Senator Ron Johnson and challenger Russ Feingold will go head-to-head in a debate on Friday, October 14th. Watch the debate with us and then let your voice be heard during the WTMJ Voter Forum. Go to WTMJ.com to sign up now. Brian Wickert and David Wickert with us here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show.
Absolutely. So I think this might be the only time I ever get to quote this rate on the air, but we'll see about that. So right now, Accunet can deliver on a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage 2.99% with an APR of 3.16. That is paying 2 points, and that's with 25% equity and all the other right stuff. So if you want the trophy rate around the bubbler at work, we can get that for you on a 30-year fixed. Just as a note of comparison, the 15-year, also pretty cheap money, 2.75%. That's with no points. APR is 2.77.
David, what's a point?
A point is 1% of the loan balance.
So on a $200,000 loan, 1 point would be?
$2,000.
All right, so if you paid 2 points, you'd be paying $4,000, plus ordinary closing costs at Accunet are another $1,135. So the question is, when does it make sense to pay those 2 points? And so, Steve, we got, 2 alternatives for every borrower to consider. Actually, we always give them 3. Door number 1 is get the trophy rate at 2.99, pay us $5,100 up front to get that trophy rate, or we can give you 3.5% and not only no points, but no closing costs whatsoever. So a $5,100 difference in the upfront cost. David, how long does it take to make that back?
It takes you just under 6 years to make that back.
I come up with 7.6.
That's if you did regular closing costs at 3.375.
Okay, well, here's another fact I can share is that, and this is somewhat reflected in the annual percentage rate over the whole life of the loan, is you would actually end up saving $15,000 of interest by going with the 2.99 and paying the 2 points. So it really depends on how long you're going to be in the house.
Yeah.
And if you have the money up front. Because the other thing that dilutes the power of that 2.99 rate is if you start to finance that into your new loan amount as opposed to paying it up front. Okay. One other thing, talk to cousin Paul, the tax accountant, on another issue we're going to get to in just a little bit. But remember that points are not deductible on refinances. They are deductible on primary residence purchases. But when you're refinancing, any points you pay have to be spread out over the life of the loan. 30, so you get to deduct 1/30th each year of the points that you pay. Okay. All right. So you got the 15-year at 2.75.
And 2.75 with just $400 in cost. And a lot of this goes back to people call in, and I totally get it. Connecting with people, talking about, I want to shorten up my loan length. I want to pay this faster, really get at it. And the wisdom, at least that we share on the phone every day, is you can always pay your mortgage faster, but you can't pay it slower. Or I should say, if you pay it slower, they're going to take the house back.
That's right. But we can do that. For those people, like we just had somebody the other day who was like, well, you know what, we can shorten your loan term by 4 years. I think they had 27 years left to go. And so we gave them the options. We can give you a new 27-year loan, so you stay on the same path, or we can shorten it by, I think it was 4 years and keep your payment the same, or we can go back to 30 years. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, they were going to save like $196 a month. Well, this chap has a couple of youngsters, 4 and 6 years old. And so he said, well, if you go back to the 30 years, you could be putting $196 a month away for your young child's college education instead of them having to take out a student loan, 14 years from now at some unknown interest rate, probably higher than today. Yeah. All right, so that's your rate roundup. Rates are nothing short of fantastic. When we come back and for our final segment here in the show, we're going to talk a little bit about 2 things. One, the Airbnb situation that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where people are starting to rent out their houses, either a little bit or a lot, and that can screw up your refinance. We'll tell you why, and then also kind of how could you report that income without causing problems for your refinance. And then secondly, I've got a couple of vacation homes that had problematic appraisals. We'll talk about that after this last break in the show.
Right here on the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
Find a place to call home without the headache. This is the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show with Brian Wickert on 620 WTMJ.
Well, before we get to the tale of 2 vacation homes in northern Wisconsin with appraisal stories behind them, how renting your home out through Airbnb or vacation can affect a refi.
Yeah, there was an article August 31st in the Wall Street Journal talking about how, hey, people are, renting out their house on Airbnb or VRBO, and now all of a sudden they come to refinance, and guys like David and I are throwing the flag and going, wait a minute, and what's the issue here, David?
Well, it's how you're reporting or not reporting the money that you made off of, for example, renting your house out when Aaron Hills hosts the U.S. Open.
I actually know somebody who's contemplating doing that for next summer. They're
how
going
to
rent
handle
their house
that.
out, right?
Yeah.
So what the problem is if people are doing this a lot, then they start to show this on Schedule E on their 1040 tax return, which is a schedule that reflects rental properties.
Yes.
Rental property income and expenses. Well, wait a minute. You're telling me on your loan application you'd like to refinance your primary residence.
Yes.
But you're renting it. Well, what is it? Is it a cat or a dog? Is it a primary residence or is it a rental? So I talked to Cousin Paul this morning about, have you seen any of these? He hasn't, but his off-the-cuff remark for somebody who just does this a little bit would be to report it on line 21 of the 1040, which is other income. So by keeping it off the explicit form dedicated, by the IRS to report rental income, that would make it a lot easier if we didn't see a rental income schedule for the property address that you're also claiming as your primary residence. So that's the story there.
Yeah, good advice.
I haven't seen any formal guidance on this from any of our Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac seller servicers, but I just know that if you tell me that if you're reporting a certain address as having rental income, it's not your primary residence anymore.
Then it just became a cat. Yes.
Then it just became a cat. It's not a dog. Obviously, David, you're a dog person.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, then we've had a couple of properties recently, one up in Oconto County. We talked about this one, I think, a couple of weeks ago, and this is how it turned out. You'll recall it's a two-bedroom, one-bath darling. It's darling. Your mother would call it darling, David.
Okay.
900 square foot, so smallish, but it's on an acre, and it's on one of the rivers up there in beautiful Oconto County. And let's just say, this is not the real sales price, but it's close. They settled on $150,000. Okay, buyer and seller. I think it was listed, let's say, for $165,000. They agree on a $150,000. We order an appraisal through an appraisal management company. The value comes in at $128,000.
Ouch.
That's a $22,000 shortfall. Immediately, of course, the seller and maybe the agent declares the appraiser an idiot, tells the buyer he should get a refund. This thing is a piece of junk. Guy doesn't know his elbow from his earlobe. And what do they decide to do? The seller says, I'm going to get my own appraisal. Awesome. So first of all,
which we can't use.
Which we cannot use. So this was just for the purposes of negotiating. Remember, this guy thinks...
Are you telling me that there are emotions in home purchase transactions?
Yeah, plenty. But our buyer's cool, calm, and collected, because we figured out, just by the way, how he could still buy the house using our lower appraisal. Mm-hmm. He was going to put 20% down. So instead we had him put 15% down. And, of course, then everybody goes, well, I don't want to pay mortgage insurance. Until I told him, with your good credit, it's only $29 a month for the mortgage insurance.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So in his particular case, all he had to do is come to the closing table with $6,000 more and pay an extra $29 a month. And he had the money, and he's like, okay, that's my backup plan.
Yeah.
But check this out. The seller then goes and gets his own appraisal, which takes a lot longer. I was grinning from ear to ear when the guy said, we'll have it in a week. I'm like, really? And then it's delayed like another 5 days. I'm like, oh, okay, so we're not the only one that has problems here as lenders.
Yes.
Getting appraisals done, especially in sparsely populated areas. Yeah. Well, shazam, the appraisal comes back from the seller at $140,000. Okay, but...
Because his buddy did it, or... Okay.
Correct. But get this. He said, well, I'm averaging what I think is the cost to build the thing, the replacement cost, which he had up at $150,000, let's say. Actually, he had it up at $147,000 with my actual sales comparison approach, which, by the way, lenders only care about sales comparisons because why do we get appraisals? We want to know how much we can sell it for if we have to foreclose on you.
Yes.
This is the reason why lenders get appraisals. We don't care what it's going to cost to build a new one. That's
just
homeowners
hopefully it's
insurance.
still built when we have to go sell it.
That's right. That's what homeowners insurance guys care about. Lenders care about what can I sell it for if I get it back in foreclosure. $135,000. $135,000 is what the guy said. We were only $7,000 apart.
Okay.
And so I guess our appraiser wasn't an idiot after all. They ended up buying the house for $145,000. So they kind of compromised between the accepted offer price and his kind of mixed up conclusion. And everybody closed on Friday, and they're happy. Okay. Now, that appraisal report had adjustments that were higher than normal, because when you get into up north Wisconsin or any rural area, you just don't have as many comparable sales to pick from. And so what mortgage lenders and appraisers are required to do is to add up all the adjustments that they made for the comparable sales, because they're not apples and apples, right? The houses aren't exactly the same. Yeah. So if you had a house that sold for $100,000 and you said, well, it was bigger than my subject property, you'd have to adjust the price downward to make it comparable. So let's say that was $10,000 down. But then, the one that we're financing has an extra bathroom, more land, and it's a lot newer and in better condition, so it's $10,000 a positive adjustment. So you have two $10,000 adjustments, one negative, one positive. That adds up, though, with, if you take away the signs, the plus and the minus, it's $20,000. That would be a 20% gross adjustment, okay, even though they were going in different directions. The rule is in Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac land that appraisers aren't supposed to have adjustments of more than 25%. Okay, so this brings me to my second story. This appraisal that we got done had adjustments greater than that, but it was such a well-done appraisal that it flew anyway. We got the job done. Okay, so now we turn the corner, and I don't know if we're going to have time for this, but in fact, I know we don't. We're going to have to save that story till next week. We have 3 more shows in a row before the Packers have another noon game, so we are lucky this season, David. And I don't know, you know what? We're going to go golfing this afternoon instead of watching the Packer game, Steve. Hey, thanks again for another fun show. We will see you back here at the same time next week.
You've been listening to the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show on 620 WTMJ.
The preceding was a paid program. Advice and opinions expressed during the Accunet Mortgage and Realty Show are solely that of the hosts or guests of Accunet Mortgage and Accunet Realty Advisors, and not WTMJ Radio or Scripps Media Incorporated.